just the obstruction in just trying to get information to solve a problem in a community, whether it's a local community, a state. Why is it so difficult? And I think is that the trigger for a lot of the heroes that you showcase or profile in the book, is that they just get to the point where they get fed up and they take an action. Because oftentimes what happens is, and quite honestly, government prefers this, and that is, if you get fed up, we want you to check out. We want you to feel completely helpless. I mean, we have the director of OPM, Office of Personnel Management. You've got in the federal government, you got other officials in the federal government basically saying, hey, the more frustrated federal workers are, the better it is for us in terms of wanting them to quit, right? So this idea of getting people to quit, to give up on the process, how much of that did you see in this?
Well, I think there's a huge risk of that at the state and local level, partly because if you can't get the information you're looking for from the government, in many, many states, your only recourse is to go to court. And that's very difficult. It's expensive. People don't have, the time, the wherewithal. They don't have the legal help, whatever. So there's an easy out for state and local governments in many, many places to just stall. I mean, look at, what the Trump administration is doing now. It's all delay. And people will go away. That is the
right.
hope. I think that what happened in the case of these 5 people was, and they're very patient people, actually, which probably is a characteristic you need to have in this kind of setting. But initially they go in, I know Michael Hickey in New York State, he went to the mayor, he said, I think we have a problem with the drinking water. And he thought the mayor would say, yeah, oh gosh, we have a problem. Let's help you, help us help figure it out. And instead, oh God, please, no. And
right.
I think people come to this initially believing your government is here to help you. That's the cliche, right? But and then they find out that's not true, and it's sort of eye-opening.
Does that contribute to a lot of what we see now? So, which levels up the opportunity for someone like Trump to say, "I alone can fix it. Don't worry about it. I'll be your retribution against the institutions that have harmed you or won't perform for you." So, when you look at what's happening at the federal level, the deconstruction of the administrative state, let's get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse. We've been hearing it for 50, 60 years. And now you got guys coming in and just blowing everything up in the name of getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. And by and large, the American people are like, okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, I think once it hits you close to home, and it will, if it hasn't yet, I think people will feel differently about it. And I think that that's what these people experienced at the state and local level. They were getting blown off. They were getting condescended to. They were getting no information, and they were baffled by that. I mean, they really, I think, did come into this thinking, sure, I've discovered a problem. Where do I go? I go to my local government or my state government, and they're going to help me fix it. Or I'm going to tell them what the problem is. They're going to take it over and fix it. And that doesn't happen. Instead, these governments are in a defensive crouch for various reasons. As I said, underfunding. I mean, to be fair, that is a problem. But there's also a defensiveness, and so they just keep going. I mean, they're like, Michael Hickey, his father died of cancer. He has a son. He's like, right. Why are we living here drinking bad water? And same with Ben Eaton, why do we have this horrible sewer system and we're spending $30 million and we still haven't fixed it? This seems wrong. I mean, these people, I think, have a very strong sense of right and wrong and are willing to act on it. And these situations take years. I mean, that's the really awful part, but they are very tenacious. They're very focused. They learn to do all these things. They learn about public records laws. They learn how to build a network. They learn how to reach out to other people around the country who may have encountered similar issues. And believe me, these issues are all over the place.
Right.
And they stick with it, and it can be very, very frustrating, and they can take a lot of grief. Diane Cotter, the woman in New England who discovered that there were forever chemicals in firefighter protective gear, and that may be helping contribute to the high rate of cancer in the fire service, which is higher than the national data. She took a lot of grief. The firefighters union was against her for a long time. The manufacturers, of course, not surprisingly, were against her. There's a private regulator who the government takes their advice on what firefighter gear should be made up of, et cetera. They were working against her. Other activists got mad at her because there sometimes are fights about who's in the limelight or you're not, it's just wild. These are hard jobs. These are not jobs either that people are being paid for. This is a second job for most
Here's
people.
the question. Was she right?
Yeah. They haven't yet completely made a link up between it's like wearing Teflon basically on this fire,
Right.
firefighter. And there's a reason for that. You go into a fire, you don't want hot water penetrating your clothes. You don't want the chemicals you're encountering. I mean, there's reasons to make it, whatever, Teflon-like. But so they haven't necessarily linked the incidence of cancer to the specific issue that she has found. It's still being studied, though, and she helped get money for federal studies. I mean, this is somebody who was a hairdresser in Worcester, Mass. She didn't know anything about this stuff.
Right.
So I think it takes a certain personality to stick with it.
Well, that begs the question. Do you think that most local journalists and citizens have the tools that they need to confront the kind of secrecy that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think it's very tough. I think that, local journalism is dying all over the country. That's part of the problem is nobody's watching at midnight when the county council strikes a deal that they don't want you to know about. I think the tools are there in the laws, actually, and same with the Federal Freedom of Information Act. I mean, it's there. It's can be useful. But it's all about compliance. And so if the government stalls, and that seems to be the MO for the Trump administration on everything, if they stall, as you said, they hope you'll just give up and go away.
Right.
So I think the tools are there. One of the interesting things to me about these folks is that many of them used Facebook as a networking method to find other people around the country who they didn't know, but they were posting things about the problems they were finding, and where there are other people confronting similar problems. So there is social media can be very useful, I think, in this kind of work. I think we have the tools. I just think you have to have a tenacious personality, and then you got to find the people in government, and there are good people in government. I don't want to trash everybody. But you got to find those people who can help you and who are willing to do that.
So that, begs the question, did you find areas of the country where there was very good transparency, where you could say, okay, these folks kind of get it. What were they doing differently if let's say they're more transparent than Prince George's County, or they're more transparent than Montgomery County, or they're more transparent than, a county or even a state, Alabama or California. Where did you see hopeful signs of the transparency you think is an important element here?
Yeah. It's very localized, and it's very, the state laws are all pretty similar, although some of them, like Alabama, ban people from out of state for getting public information, which is pretty bad.
Okay.
And that was actually, there was a Supreme Court case many, many years ago out of Virginia that said states do not have to respond to records requests from non-citizens, not even non-residents, non-citizens. So interestingly enough, in Alabama, I had a first round of information I got. On the second round, the lawyer for the water board realized I was an out-of-stater and said, "We don't have to give this to you."
Because you're not a citizen
of Alabama. I
of
am a
Alabama.
citizen. I mean, why is citizenship a criteria? I don't know. Anyway, I think it's very localized. I mean, there are communities in California that are okay. There are some communities in Oregon that are okay. A lot of it, I think, depends on sort of what is the local ethos. And so Alabama, fraught with all kinds of, racial issues, other economic issues, whatever, I think the thinking, the way it was expressed to the people in Uniontown was, it was condescending. I mean, you don't need this information. You don't need it. We know what we're doing. We're going to fix it. And don't challenge us. But, can I pull out one community that I think is great at this? Not really.
Yeah, is there one?
I'm sure there is. I hope after this podcast somebody will come forward and say, "Hey, our little town of 500 people, we're great on public.
We're great at transparent." So, I guess sort of wrapping it up this way, because this is fascinating. Someone who, worked in state government and really identify a lot with what you describe, and my own frustrations sometimes in dealing with trying to, it wasn't even so much, and that's an important part, being transparent to the public, but even being transparent within the government.
Right.
That Department A and Department B actually know what they're doing. It goes to what you were just saying about, EPA and Department of Agriculture, and everybody's kind of got their little silos, but because there happens to be this sort of level of overlap, we're going to, we'll treat that a certain way, but you don't get much more information than that. So, what does that fight for transparency teach you, or the lesson you level up in the book? What does it say about the state of American democracy? And, has your view of citizenship as an instigator of transparency or defender of transparency, in reporting these stories changed at all?
Well, I think, first of all, the book shows, even though it's a struggle, you can make a difference on the local level. And some of these issues will ripple nationally. I mean, certainly firefighter protective gear, that has rippled nationally. There are firefighters now and the union too, all over the country saying, we shouldn't be wearing this stuff for as long as we're wearing it. It's flaking off. It's embedding in our bodies, whatever. So I think working hard at the local level and trying to create a culture of openness in your community, first of all, is good for you and your community. But secondly, it is a methodology that can move up. And so if you want to affect what's going on in Washington and you're feeling helpless, see if you can peel off a piece of that problem that your state government is working on, and try to push there. I will say that I think elected officials do pay attention to numbers. And so, you just coming forward and saying, I have this problem, blah, 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 not good enough. If it's 40 people in my community have this problem and we are concerned about it, and here's what we think might be the fix, they'll pay attention. Also, just going back to what you said about government not talking to each other, I know elected officials who have said to me that they can't get information from
right.
It's like, really? Are you kidding? So, and I will also say there's a toolkit or a sort of a how-to chapter at the end of the book, which gives a lot of very practical advice about ways you can push on government to get more information and to have them be more open. And I think that can be useful at any level of government. And also I think that it just, you have to really believe in your issue and yourself
Right.
and get allies. I mean, it's
Right.
not good to do all this by yourself, and you won't get as much attention if you're one person as you will if you're a big network. So
There it
you know,
is. I love
I
it.
think there are answers out there, but it's not easy. But now's the time, it seems to me.
Well, I think that's a very important point. Now is the time, because we do see so much disruption in our governmental processes that, as I keep saying to folks, a lot of what you see happening at the federal level, and this is before we even get into what Miranda points out in her book, with state and local issues that need to be addressed. Any federal response that was there before, a part of it, any federal dollars, all of that part of the is now part of the disruption that's going to flow into. So if it was harder before, it's going to be even harder now. So finding allies, taking advantage of resources like legal aid societies that are actually doing real pro bono work, not Donald Trump pro bono work. That is, along with other tools are available to you.